All right, the taxi is pulled up, door has opened, and out steps the one, the only, Joe Swadhofer, the Bryan Insurance guy.
Good morning, Rick. How are you today?
Hey, I am about as good as you possibly can get, and a little hot out there today.
Boy, a little. It's not even the word. But I hear, rumor has it, that the polar vortex may be returning mid to late next week.
Bring the polar vortex in.
Yes, I will take a polar vortex. I'll take two.
Yes, I will take two.
Yes.
Yesterday, you and I were unloading things, and it was warm.
Yes, and of course you had the black shirt on, so
yes.
That made it even
well, it's because I was just trying to look tough, you know.
Look tough.
Yeah, I got to look tough.
Looking
all right,
tough.
We got stuff to talk about here.
Yes.
We've got insurance to talk about. Brought to you by Bryan Insurance Agency here on your Cornelius Custom Services 8 o'clock hour. Now, you know, Joe, sometimes you got stuff in your house or things around you that you're like, well, you know, it's fine. I don't have to worry about it. You know, I don't have to mess with it. It's going to be there when I need it.
Right.
Whatever, you know. Well, insurance could be the same way. A lot of times you can go, you know, let's say you got a good deal at some brand X insurance company, and you've just set that up on the shelf, and everything's been rocking along pretty good, but in case of a disaster or something bad happens and you have to use that policy and you haven't looked at it in a few years,
right,
you might be in some trouble.
Right. Yeah, that's we run into that quite a bit. Matter of fact, I'm dealing with a client right now that's had a policy, we'll call it with brand X, and he's had a policy for years and years and years on a home, and you know, from time to time, rates change, and the price to rebuild a home is going to change from, say, 10, 15 years ago. And so he's had this policy for, I want to say, 15, 20 years now.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, the biggest factor when you're looking at a home insurance policy is what they call replacement cost, which is, hey, if the house burns to the ground or blows away in a tornado, what is it going to cost to rebuild that house? And so naturally, the insurance companies want to make sure that they have enough money built into the policy to rebuild that. The whole purpose of having home insurance is to make you whole again. And so there are many factors that come into play: where you're at, how, you know, what the makeup of the house is. If you've got, you know, a couple of cardboard boxes and a tin roof, that's going to cost not nearly as much as a slab with brick, you know, maybe 4,000 or 5,000 square foot house. So all that comes into play. Well, this gentleman, looking at his policy, I think he's about a 4,000 square foot house. He only had about $180,000 worth of coverage. I won't say where he was at, not in the Lake Country, but looking at the rates, just kind of going rate to rebuild a house, I don't know if that would rebuild half of it. And so that was the point that he had brought up, is that, you know, hey, I've had this policy for a while. Kept trying to tell my agent, hey, come on out, take a look at the place, make sure we don't need to increase it. Oh, no, you're fine, you're fine. And lo and behold, yeah, that's not going to get it done. And so the conundrum that he falls into is that while he thinks he's either A, getting a good deal, or B, it's taken care of, the onus is on him, unfortunately, if something happens to that house, because he doesn't have enough coverage. So it's always a good idea. I'm not saying you always have to switch, but it's always a good idea just to have somebody eyeball it. Maybe once a year, maybe every couple of years, just to say, hey, do I have enough coverage? Not only for the dwelling itself, because, you know, the cost to rebuild it's going to go up, but what if you've maybe added an addition? What if you've maybe taken in, you know, you were mentioning the other day your fine love of art. What if you've decided to go out and purchase some art or some old relics or whatever, and that falls under personal property? You need to make sure there's coverage for that as well. So it's really a good idea to sit down, go over your policy, go over, you know, all of the intricate details of it to make sure you're covered the way you need to be.
Yeah, I saw you eyeballing my velvet dogs playing pool at my house that
day.
Yeah,
yes, I did.
My love of art. But yeah, I mean, it's amazing. I guess every single day, every time, it's kind of, I guess houses and cars and things are kind of like computers. You know, they update. Prices go up. Right. But if your insurance policy was bought in 2005 and you take a 2005 policy and put it in 2014, it may not be the same thing.
Exactly. We've it seems like every day you always see a story. We had one here locally not too long ago where a house had some issues, caught fire, and I recently saw it the other day. They've cleared the pad, cleared all the stuff off, and in a situation like that, freaky things happen all the time. I'm not sure exactly the details of that story. Have no idea who they were insured with, but we'll just maybe use that as kind of as an outside example to say, stuff happens all the time. When you go home at night, you assume your house is going to be there when you pull into the driveway or what have you, but stuff happens, and your house can burn up, something can happen, somebody could break in, lightning strikes, weird stuff happens all the time. And if you keep putting off that, I meant to give that agent a call and go over that policy, if you put it off too long, you could pull into the driveway and half the house is there. They've got to rebuild it. Or, the house is burned to the ground while you were at work and you're kind of left with nothing now. And hey, I should have called that agent to talk about it. That kind of time has passed. And you may not be able to rebuild the whole house. You may only be looking at half a house or having to look at alternative methods to find a place to live.
Some people may be saying right now, okay, that's fine, Joe. I get what you're saying. But how much does it cost for me to come over to your office and sit down with my policy and have you look at it?
Really, it costs nothing. We do that all day long. And Lynette and myself, very well versed in the nuances of insurance policies, not only for your home, but there's a lot of things that we'll look at a policy and make recommendations to you. We see this gentleman yesterday, for example, that I was dealing with, looking at his liability limits for his home. Somebody comes over to your house like you did the other night. You came over to the house, and I attempted to push you away from the house because you were trying to steal back the velvet picture of the dogs. Yes.
I know your wife likes it.
Yes, I know. And so you've got liability limits on your house. He only had $100,000, and I've said it on this show many, many a times. The liability portion of your homeowner's policy is probably some of the cheapest insurance you can buy. And so he only had $100,000. One recommendation I made right off the bat is, hey, let's get that up to at least $500,000 or $1 million. He had a pool. I said, hey, let's make sure we've got enough liability coverage for that. Make sure it's rated properly. So it really takes not that long, 10, 15 minutes to kind of sit down, go over your policy, make sure there's not any holes in your fences, so to speak, make sure you're covered the way you need to be, make recommendations for you. As agents, as professionals, we make recommendations. At the end of the day, you are the consumer. You get to make the final choice on, hey, this is what I want to do, this is what I don't want to do. And we're going to make recommendations so that you're informed, because an informed buyer is always the better buyer when it comes to insurance, or when it comes to really anything in life. You don't just blindly go, walk through United or walk through Walmart and start picking stuff off the shelves. You're informed. You know what you want. And you need to treat your insurance policies the same way.
Now, if someone wants to get a hold of you, websites, addresses, phone numbers, all that good stuff.
Sure. It's 940-549-2525. You can also go up to the second floor of the Sierra Bank building, and I'll give you that free elevator ride up to the second floor. Or take a look at our website, BryanBryanINS.com. A lot of great information on there, a lot of great tools and tips. We've got our identity theft protection information on there as well. It's something you need to take a look at. So
I got that. It's very cool.
It's very cool, isn't it? You feel like a superstar now, don't you?
I don't worry near as much.
Really?
Right. I just got back from San Diego. Wasn't worried the whole time I was there.
Really?
Yep.
Okay. Well, that's great.
Yeah, I'm very happy about
Glad
that.
we were able to take care of that for you.
Yes, you took care of that.
You have a
for
good
me.
agent, don't you?
She is a great agent.
She is a great agent.
Yes.
Yes, she is. Come on up, second floor of the Sierra Bank building, 549-2525, Brian with a Y, INS.com, and we'll make sure you're covered the way you need to be.
Check it out at Brian Insurance today. Joe, appreciate your time, my friend.
Thank you, Rick.
We're going to get things kicked off here on the Cornelius Custom Service 8 o'clock hour with Asia and some Jackson Brown. Sports coming up. You stay tuned.